All right, hello and good evening, traders. It's Friday, November 22nd, 2024. The week is over. Good week for us. Net lick on all the accounts up this week. Good trades this week. We got some new stuff on, which I'm going to cover with you today. So I'm going to share with you some of the new trades we added today in both the trading account and the investing account. So I'm going to cover both of those, some cool stuff that we did there. We closed off a few things today as well. So we took some profits on several trades, and I want to talk about the market. So let's go through and take a look at a couple charts. First, we'll discuss where the markets are, and then let's get into several trades that you guys can take a look at over the weekend. See what you think on them. I'll give you an idea of what I'm trading, why I'm trading it, and hopefully give you some ideas. But again, just showing you what I'm doing, up to you if this is something you want to take and then investigate on your own and decide if this is for you or not. So I'm here just to share how I'm trading and what I am doing overall. So let's get into it and take a look. So let's look at the markets. I'll stop sharing my screen as well so that you don't have to look at me in the corner. And let's take a quick look, and let's start off with ES here, the S&P. S&P had a pretty good overall week. Pretty much 5 straight up days this week. So nice bounce off the 21 EMA, moving higher. We're not overbought on any of the RSIs for the weekly or the daily. We're a little lofty on the stochastic momentum on the weekly, but still, we are in a nice uptrend here. It's turning in a little bit to a rising wedge, which would give me some caution here if we, break below the bottom of this support. Oops, the bottom of the band. Let's see if I can move it up. So if we broke below this, then I'll, start to be a little bit more concerned. But right now, there's not a whole lot going on that gives me a whole lot of worry. The fear and greed index not nowhere near extreme greed or greed, and the VIX still hanging down around 15. So VIX volatility is low, markets are up, earnings are over, election is over, and we're just moving forward. The seasonally good time of the year. So ES, good stuff. We like where we are here. In fact, we did put on a new trade. Both Igor and myself added trades today, very similar. We did 112 trades, very short term. I did 39 DTE 112 trade. Here, Igor went out a little bit further on it, but both of those short trades in ES. So 112s in ES. We're taking a look at oil. Oil looks pretty good, continues to, had a really good week, continues to move its way higher, breaking above the 21 yesterday, moving itself even higher today, the 13 about to cross the 31. We also broke the 50-day moving average here. Stochastic momentum's rising, squeezes rising and may fire soon. RSI is rising, MACD's been rising. So the daily chart on oil looks pretty good. Am I saying that oil is going back into the upper 70s or 80s? I don't really think that that's the case, but it's got a really good support level here around 67 or so. So that's how we're playing it. So what did we do today? We added a new trade in oil. We actually did a 112 trade in CL, the oil futures. So we added an oil futures trade, 112, and a ES 112 trade. So both of those were added today. Taking a look at bonds. Bonds continue to just put in a bit of a base here on the futures. We're really holding up to this 15.5 level that we've been at. The underlying technicals are looking better and better. Even on the weekly here, things are looking better. You're starting to see even an uptick in the MACD. You see a little bit of flattening of the RSI here. And then even though the squeeze has fired to the downside, the stochastic momentum is down and at some pretty significant lows here. It hasn't started to curl up, so I don't know that there's an all clear yet here. We could still see some more downward action, but I do like the sideways basing out. We're definitely building some volume area in here. So a couple things to to keep an eye on, but also if we're looking at and I'm going to make this a little wider here. If we're looking at RSI, RSI has been on these moves dropping, 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 uh, but not hitting new lows. So really, let's take a look. From here on the first of the month to now, RSI has been inching its way higher while the market's not. So a little bit of a divergence here, which I like it. So good stuff on bonds. We did take advantage of this today, and we did close out some TLT naked calls that we've been writing against our long TLT positions. We did not close any of the bond futures naked calls yet, but those are all doing pretty well overall. So we're really playing this. We're generating income uh, and good stuff. And we did close today um, let's see, we did not close anything on the futures side today. So let's take a quick look. But we did add some trades. Gold, we pointed it out yesterday. It blew up today, exploded a little bit more to the upside. So gold looks pretty good overall here. I think it has more room to run. We are not in an overbought situation. MACD is just finally getting the cross here after the reversal. Squeeze reversing, stochastic momentum heading higher, RSI is heading higher. So the daily chart looks good. We have some overhead. If we look, and this is GC, if we look at GLD, which is pretty similar, we do have some gaps up in here to fill. Okay? And we stopped right on this. So we'll see if we can get a gap fill on GLD. The futures don't really gap quite like that. So it's harder to see. But I think you can also just start to put in some support right around this level here, which has been a previous support level. Then it was a resistance level on this bounce back up, and now it's resistance again. So if we break through this, I would think that'll be a pretty good bullish sign, and then it may also act as some support if we break out. So overall, gold looks good. We looked to put on a gold trade, did not get filled today. Copper just hanging out down in the trend line and support areas down here. I'm not ready to do anything on copper. I'm waiting for this weekly chart to kind of resolve itself, start to bottom, and start to turn its way up. So until then, I'm really just staying out of copper. It's at support, which is great. We'll let this thing just continue to be at this support level. We can extend it. So support on copper, we'll let it be. Silver, pretty interesting in here. We had a bullish PSAR reversal signal today, so getting a bit of a reversal on that. And if we extend this line out a bit from a support level standpoint, we bounced off of it pretty nicely, came back down, didn't exactly retest it, but it was close yesterday. This could be a nice bounce and a nice start to the next move higher on silver. I think this is something to watch out for. You're even at this uptrend line. So I like where silver is. I think you can play silver in here. Everything looks bullish on silver from the MACD to the RSI to the squeeze, stochastic momentum. Everything looks great on the daily chart. The weekly chart, not so much. Doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look quite as good as the daily is starting to set up. So I think we get a little bit of a pop in here. We'll see what happens. The Aussie dollar. If we look at the trades that we opened today, we did open, again, I told you, a oil 112 trade today. We also opened that ES short-term 112 trade today. Technically, it was a 111 trade that we put on today. So technically, it's a 111 trade. In fact, I'm just updating my sheet just to show that, but it is a 111 trade on ES today. And then yesterday, also today, on 6A, we also did a 112 trade on the Aussie dollar. So on the Aussie dollar here, we put in a 112 trade. I'm liking the setup where we are here, down around this support level on this trend line here. I liked today's candle, not too bad. But also we're seeing MACD starting to rise, RSI just kind of hanging in there, not doing much of anything. We are in a squeeze, and stochastic momentum is starting to wind its way up. We are definitely into some oversold levels here on the weekly, so I think we could see some upward movement here. Really, the strong dollar is keeping this suppressed, but I think the dollar is something that we need to look at. And as always, we look at the dollar when we look at the Aussie dollar. We look at the US dollar, and you are breaking through now on the weekly here and on the daily. We're breaking through this resistance. So I thought maybe we'd see some resistance in here, and that is really not the case. See if we can get a little bit longer view here. Uh, I don't know if we're heading back up to the 114 level here, but we did break through some of this resistance, and this month is uh, a pretty good bullish PSAR signal. But we are above the Bollinger Bands, the 3 ATR levels. That rarely happens on the dollar. So the dollar is overbought here, and it finished well off of its highs. Even though it broke through today, did finish well off of its highs. We'll see if the dollar can keep this momentum going. All right, TLT, we discussed bonds. I like where bonds are here, starting to bottom out a little bit. I don't know if that's the case exactly. However, what I want to point out on bonds is this descending wedge that you can see here. You can see it pretty clearly on the weekly, and you can see here on the daily. We are starting to break out of the descending wedge pattern. That's a bullish sign to me. So not only are we holding some support down in here, okay, so we're holding up with some decent support. Okay. So we're holding up with a little bit of decent support in here, starting to move higher, but I think this could be a nice sign. We'll see if we get any confirmed moves. We are in a squeeze. We are a bit oversold, especially on stochastic momentum. And even on some of these newer lows or recent lows, we were seeing RSI rising. So you got a little bit of a divergence in RSI. I think bonds look good here. Now, how did we play that today? Again, on the lazy trader in the income account, we did close our TLT naked calls. We closed them for an 81% profit in 15 days. So we booked $1,400 in cash on that in 15 days. Good trade overall. Nice short-term 2-week trade. Booked $1,400. All right, and I'm going to cover one more chart with you, and that is the Russell. There seems to be a little bit of a rotation happening right now from the S&P, or at least from the NASDAQ, potentially into the Russell. Another big update. We did close a Russell trade out yesterday. So we did close our put spread in Russell out. I am willing to put another one on. I thought the move today was a little much. If we get any kind of a pullback here, I love the fact that this thing broke out over resistance, came back, touched the resistance, and bounced right off of it. So this resistance became support. Very clean bounce. This was a great trade to begin. We closed that trade in 2 days for 44% winner, $900 on that one. So all good stuff. I want to hit just a few quick stocks, and then we can talk about a few other trades. So first stock I want to hit up is MicroStrategy. And again, I want to be very clear that this is bananas. Okay. This is not for the faint of heart, nor should it be for just anybody just throwing money at this thing, thinking, oh, the volatility is great. I can sell, the 350, 370 naked puts, make a ton of money on this thing. Well, you saw yesterday what can happen. This thing has gotten decoupled from Bitcoin. If we're looking at Bitcoin itself, look at the chart on Bitcoin. Now, it looks great. Okay, the chart on Bitcoin does look absolutely great in here. Okay, it's broken out, it's moved to new highs. It hit 100,000 intraday today, so it did hit $100,000 intraday. It is extremely overbought, but from the MicroStrategy end of things, this chart looks even more ridiculous. If you are really kind of trading along with Bitcoin, we probably should be somewhere in this like 260-ish range with MicroStrategy. Instead, it bolted to 550, came back down, is at 421. I think it should probably be in the mid 200s somewhere. And my valuation on MicroStrategy is between what 160 and 180. That's where the majority of my trades are. So I'm being cautious. I'm not playing any of these things up in the 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500. I'm not playing anything there. And I think you shouldn't either. I think you should be smart about this. It has decoupled. It's pushed too far ahead of Bitcoin. And good news, I think they're doing all the right things. I like the play. I believe there's value in here. I mean, if Bitcoin value stays at where it is or it continues to rise, this thing should continue to mirror those increases in Bitcoin, but it should not be outperforming Bitcoin by a couple 100%. And if we look at um, what is it, Bitcoin year to date, and take a look potentially at how far it's moved. In the last year, Bitcoin has moved up 163% in a year. Okay, 163%, good stuff. Okay, but if we're looking at MicroStrategy, okay, this thing in the last year has moved up 755% in a year. Okay. It's bananas. Okay. You shouldn't be decoupling this far from Bitcoin. I'm okay if it was up, in the last year, like Bitcoin in a year. I'm okay if it's up, 160%, but not 700%. This thing needs to chill out. It's run too far. That being said, I am trading it. I am trading it because I've traded it for a long time and I think I have a good feel for it. I like the IVR. I'm selling lower naked puts. I am okay owning this if need be and writing calls against it, so I am okay wheeling it. But we did close a MicroStrategy trade today. I had sold the 95 back on October 4th, and we booked it today for an 89% winner in 49 days. So I'm selling what I feel are conservative puts below a price that I think is its intrinsic value. So I think, again, MicroStrategy, I think the value of it is between 160 and 180. If you feel that there's some premium that you want to add to that level, maybe 200. The underlying company, not worth anything, in my opinion. It's just the shares of Bitcoin, and that's how I think you have to value it. So I would stick under the 200 level. But I wanted to touch a base on this because this is not for the faint of heart. And I think most people are going to get fried on this thing at some point. You just don't chase it because it's juicy, speculative, high IV, risky stuff. I'm chasing it because I am a big believer in Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin is going to double in the next year and potentially quadruple in the next few years. I'm a big believer in Bitcoin and where it's going. So I think this thing is going to go along for the ride. I think this is a great way to play it. The volatility gives you really nice juice. The juice is what I'm playing for. If I had just played for buying the stock at 200 and it ran to 500, I'd have doubled my money and then some. But that's not the way I play things. And I think if you're buying it in here and buying long calls, I think that is a fool's errand in here. So I just want you to be careful with it and understand, I think, where the value is. And I think if you play that, you set yourself up decently. All right, let's touch base on a few other things. Yesterday we covered MicroStrategy, we covered Palantir, we covered NVIDIA. I like what Amazon's doing, which is dropping. Okay, I don't think it's done dropping. I don't love the chart here on Amazon. I think it's rolling over. I'd like to see it come down to about this 180-ish, 190-ish level. And let's see if it finds any support in here. And then if so, I think that's when I'm going to start selling naked puts on Amazon. So I'm waiting for Amazon to get its act together. Um, what did I do today? Well, we got a little speculative with some spec money. And I get a little static from some members like, hey, you're trading. What's up with these high volatility plays? Well, MicroStrategy is. I'm not trading it because it's high volatility. I'm trading it because I believe in Bitcoin, and it's a good vehicle. It just happens to have really high volatility right now, which makes it a little more scary for me. I don't love it, but I am going to tip my foot into SMCI here. The fact that they have accounting problems and they have filing problems uh, are all very, very concerning. Okay? So I think you have to be very careful in here that this company still exists. However, they are closely tied with NVIDIA. I think SMCI has value to it. I think you need to pay attention to what's going on in the news. But it's having a pretty good week. It's bounced from 18 to 33, so it's almost up about 100%. It was up today 11%, and this month alone, uh, this thing's up. I'm sorry, in the last 5 days, I should say, it's up 78% in 5 days. Having a great week. And I think it's another AI play. I think they're tied well with NVIDIA. NVIDIA, maybe by on purpose, should give them a shout out on the earnings call. I'm going to stick my toe in. I think the valuation is right around 28, 29 on this thing. So I think it's come down to where it should be valued. It was not 130, an 80, a 70, a $50 stock. This thing is a $28 stock. I did sell naked puts around $21. So I am going even lower than that here. I'm selling it close, a little bit above the low that it hit a couple weeks ago. But you're starting to see this thing bottoming out. I think there's some potential support in here at the bottom of the 3 ATR Bollinger Bands on the weekly and the daily. Small position, willing to lose a little bit of money on this thing. I'm allowed to do some spec trades according to my trade plan. I put 10% of my account aside for spec trades, and that's one of the spec trades I'm running right now. So we got a spec trade on SMCI, little different, little outside the normal wheelhouse, but I'm good with that. So anyway, I wanted to point those out. A couple different trade opportunities. As always, I'm selling naked puts on them. I also did buy in the active trader service. I did buy shares of this thing as well here. Just a few hundred shares. So if it drops 30%, I will cut bait and I will run on this thing. Other than that, we're in great shape. We had a really, really good week. I'm happy with where the week ended up. All of our net licks are higher on every single account that we have. We on the Lazy Trader account, we are $7,000 on a $357,000 account. We are just 2% from an all-time high. Most of the reason it's down is bonds have fallen, but bonds are starting to base out. We're generating that cash flow. We generated another $2,500 in cash today, closing that TLT trade, and I closed a MicroStrategy trade. So I did take money off the table in MicroStrategy, and I put it back in yesterday, knowing that those are probably going to come off. So I'm keeping my risk level, I think, where it needs to be. So overall, really, really good stuff. Short-term 112 trade in ES. Okay. A ES 112W. I did the 111 version of that. We also put on a trade today in oil, a 112 trade in oil. So, and we did a 112 trade in the Aussie dollar. So 112 still working great. We are actually almost fully recovered from the 112s that we had themselves. So good stuff. Keep cranking forward. Have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.